So here we go. First up, a couple of administrative things that you need to be made aware of. Let me direct your attention to the backboard. So we have the backboard on the right. So make sure that you are aware of your knowledge check goals. So I'm just going to take a minute just to remind you that this Friday is our first knowledge check. Okay? So it is going to be a recent learning knowledge check, so it's not going to be over the whole entire pie chart. It's just going to be over the stuff from the last 3 weeks. So this week, last week, and the week before that, the stuff that you have recently learned. Okay? So it is going to be a little bit different for each one of you, but that's okay. It's going to be personalized for you as well. Mr. Greenberg, while I'm pulling this up, would you mind pulling up that document there? Okay. On that knowledge check, you might say, Mr. Goddard, how are you going to grade that? How does that work? Okay. Well, you can see there that your goal is 180 topics. This is the honors class. Okay. So let's say at the end of that knowledge check, you have 175. Okay. Then your grade would be 175 divided by 180. You've got a calculator, you can figure out what that decimal is, and then you multiply it by 100 to figure out the equivalent percent. Yes, we do round. Okay? Just to be aware, a couple things, those of you that have experienced Alex and the learning progress on there, whatever your topic count is before the knowledge check, after the knowledge check, it will probably be a little bit smaller. Okay? So let's say that a few weeks ago you ended up right at 150, and then the first week you learned 10, put you at 160. Next week after that, you got 10, put you at 170. This week you learn, it's going to put you up at 180. You're like, I'm at 180. Okay? Well, guess what? The way your mind works, okay? If you learn this much stuff, when you take a test, it's very unlikely that you're going to get all of that 100% right every single time. You're probably going to really have full mastery of this much stuff. Okay? So that's just the way it is. So if you want 100, okay? So y'all do. That's great. I was with you on that when I was in your shoes. But if you're looking for that 100, probably having exactly 180 topics is not going to cover it for you. Okay? How many other classes do you expect and demand to get 100 on every quiz? I don't know, but in this class, people apparently really want to because it's attainable, and I love it. That's great. I want everybody 100. You get 100. Everybody gets 100. All right, that would be great. But let's set some realistic expectations for ourselves. But anyway, if you want that 100, you're going to have more than 180. Okay, you're probably going to have around 190, 195, 185, maybe. I don't know, just to be on the safe side. Just be mentally prepare yourself for that. For some of you rock stars, maybe you take the knowledge check. Before the knowledge check, you have 220, and then after the knowledge check, you have 210. Oh my gosh, whatever. Well, guess what 210 divided by 180 is? 100. Still 100. Okay. I don't give extra credit. Okay. You get capped at 100 in the grade book, and that's great. Yes.
So basically, what you got on your knowledge check is the minimum grade. So if you got 150 topics, you can't really get below an 83 on the quiz. Or because are those topics locked in or no?
If you click I don't know on every single one of them, it's going to drop your pie chart down to pretty much almost 0. But if you answer the first 5 or 6 questions wrong, and then you keep getting them wrong, and then eventually it's going to be like, whoa, I thought he understood this. I guess he doesn't understand this. I'm going to start dropping down. It could conceivably drop you. It could, yes, it's possible that if you start doing really terrible on a lot of those, yes. I'll say this just because it's being recorded. I don't really expect this to be the case in this class. I don't really expect it to be the case in the other classes, but just in case. It is entirely possible that there is a student somewhere, I don't know, maybe not at this school, but somewhere, work with me for a second, that there's a student that is not himself doing the topics every day, every week, right? Those 10 topics, okay? And for that student, I feel sorry for that student because they're going to feel like they are on top of the world and doing great, okay? But when we do that knowledge check in here, that knowledge check is them, and it's them working, and it's due at the end of the class period. And if they don't know how to do it on their own, then their pie is going to shrink, and they're going to say something like, I just do really bad on tests. And I'll be like, yeah, you do. Especially on stuff you don't know. Alright? But we don't have anybody like that, so not really worried about it. But anyway, it's just sort of like another reason why you need to do your own work, right? So you get rewarded. But anyway, just kind of throwing that out there. Let's keep working through some administrative stuff. So there's knowledge check. If you look to the other one on the back left there, you kind of see we actually are doing stuff Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, but we just didn't put the schedule up there. But just to remind you, I guess you really need to pay attention, most of it, to Friday, and what is due. That is the most important. So 10 topics are still due this Friday, I think 11 o'clock. Knowledge check is Friday, and there are 3 homeworks there. Right triangle trigonometry 1, 2, and 3. Those are all due. You already know how to do right triangle trigonometry homework 1 and 2. Today and tomorrow we're going to wrap up on 3. You can see that's what you've got there by the finish talking. Okay? Now, some of you, most of you on this class took care of Radical Review 1, Radical Review 2, Radical Review 3. Those were the homeworks that were due last Friday. In the event that you didn't, or in the future, I mean, it's going to happen. Life happens as things get in the way and you get absent for legitimate, sometimes illegitimate reasons, but whatever. You forget to do a homework, you don't get it done on time. Okay? Let me direct you over here to the missing homework form. Okay? So if you notice, there's an M on your homework grade when you're checking your parent portal, and you say, oh my gosh, I forgot to do that homework, and then you can go ahead and do that homework. Remember I said you've got to create a document trail? This is the document trail. You put your name, you put your grade, probably, I need to put a thing here for which period it is, but whatever, I'll figure that out. What was the assignment? Say, Radical Review 3, okay? I didn't turn it in because I was late, whatever, and I was sick for multiple days, okay? Or anyway, that's about the only legitimate reason. Anyway, I forgot to do it, I'm sorry, I'll pay more attention in the future. And then you'll put it in the other little tray here, and there you go, that's the process. Speaking of also processes, if you were absent, Trey, thank you. If you were absent, say maybe today, which, those of you watching the video, okay, Preston. So if you were absent today, you would come back on Tuesday, and on the Monday tray right here, I will have this handout that everybody else has. So that way you can get a copy of that handout. So then when you watch the video, you can play along at home. All right, make sense? Great. I'll try to talk louder for those of you on the videos. So let's see. So we talked about knowledge check. We talked about the schedule. We talked about the absent form. Not the absent form, but the late work form. We talked about the trays. Not you, but, well, I did talk to you. But we talked about the trays for handouts. All right, what are we going to do here? Are we not plugged in? All right, we now take a brief word from our commercial partners here. You get a minute to breathe.
Is it 5 to 9:30?
See, if you guys have to work at 5, when then you reach, how long is it? 4? Take 1 hour to reach somewhere?
It takes like 15 minutes.
Exactly.
I gotta go home and take a shower and stuff.
Yeah, that's why you gotta go.
A real shower?
That's all I'll do. Wait, I'm bad with the bubble. I want to choose because it's right now, it's got to trust one to see if you guys got to Monday, 1 o'clock, more than you want to tell it simple. No, Tuesday, just morning. So work on Tuesday. Wednesday, gonna be class country. Thursday, we're going to be resting in the afternoon, just something like this morning. You see, so Tuesday, Thursday, we can do it. See? And then Wednesday, no, Friday now, we pick it again. You see what I'm saying? So you guys will take out.
literally just laying in bed.
You guys got that. So that we're going to be running because you do have good record today, yes, but you need to get those soreness and everything out, like if you're running and support. See, and if you don't use like half an hour,
It's so easy.
it's not, you know what work with the pants on. You go to church, you get a half, that's the same thing with the workout.
Okay, I'll tell my manager that I need to take Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off every week.
Yeah.
I know, but you have to be edgy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Tuesday, Thursday, you go to work.
So where would we do it?
Because Wednesday, we go to traffic.
No, you gotta do it.
So we're not going to work out in the afternoon. So Monday, we do it morning and
We should do it in,
because we're going to finish up in the morning, and then it's easier in the evening. And then Thursday, because we have only alcohol lights. And then in the afternoon, then Friday, that's when you guys will come.
So I'll be the.
So Tuesday,
I'll be the
you guys need to
Alright, eyes back up here. Alright, thank you from our sponsors. Now, on a sheet of paper, this is your individual notes. We are going to finally help out George Washington here how to find the side of a triangle using trigonometry, okay? So, let's go ahead and draw our friendly right triangle over here. And he's found out that there's 6 miles from this point up to that point. He is standing right here, looking at his friend, the other surveyor, over here. He had that whole time there to discuss, and then you decide to get up right when I start talking. Okay? That's not a good student decision. Okay? Thanks. So, and he wants to figure out, for whatever reason, maybe he's trying to find the area of this rectangle because it's a region. He wants to figure out this distance from here to here, which we will label x. Okay? Maybe once he figures out what that distance is, then he can do 1/2 base times height, and then he can find the area of this. And using his little measuring device here that measures angles, he has determined, oh, that this is a 60. Do you use special right triangles? No, 63 degrees. Dang it. If it was 60, then he could have used that special right triangles, right? And then like x, 2x, x root 3, and stuff like that. So, out of luck there, George Washington. Sorry, can't use special right triangles. Figure that out. But, can you figure out what this side is if somewhere someone has gone to the trouble of measuring out exactly 63 degrees and figured out what this number is and figured out what this number is, right? If they've done that and then published that somewhere in a resource that he could have access to, then he could set up a triangle and he could say, aha, my 6 over x is corresponding to their number over their other number, right? He could do proportions. Are you all with me? It's all about proportions, okay? Proportions, proportions, proportions. Okay. Turns out someone has, okay, done that. Those math monks I keep referring to, all right? And they actually not only have gone to the trouble of figuring out those numbers, but then they've given them nicknames, okay? We need to figure out, in our case, and he does as well, what is the best nickname, which ratio would be the most appropriate in this situation? All right? Perhaps I am going to go and do that process that I always do, and I'm going to circle the angle and then draw an arrow over to the other side. And what am I going to label this one as, class? Opposite. And then the longest side there, the side opposite the 90 degrees, that's the hypotenuse. And then down here we have, that's the only one that's left over. That's the adjacent. Okay? So I might sort of give you a step-by-step process here. So step number 1, identify the best trig ratio to use. So seems to me I'm wanting something that's going to deal with opposite and adjacent. Anybody remember? Tangent, okay, so in this case, tangent's the one that we're going to want to use. Step 2, write the trig equation. So, I would say, tangent, or a tan, of 63 degrees equals say tangent is opposite over adjacent. So what's that going to be here? 6 over x. Now tangent of 63 degrees is what those math monks, that's what they figured out. That's, that's their number divided by that other number. They've gone to the problem of figuring that out, okay? So what I want you to notice here is that even though this looks like some sort of trigonometric equation, which is what it is, in reality this is a proportion. Does that make sense, Dominic? This right over here is a placeholder for the proportion that they would use, okay? For reasons of not dealing with a whole bunch of numbers and decimal approximations at this time, I'm going to tell you the next thing you need to do is manipulate this equation so that my unknown is on one side all by itself, okay? So step 3, manipulate the equation. I could say to solve for x. In this case, I'll put in parentheses, the unknown. Because sometimes it might be like letter A or V or Y or K or something. It might be a different letter, but in this case it's X. So, all right, let's do a little bit of algebra on this class. How would we get X all by itself in that situation? I'll rewrite it down right here. Tangent 63 degrees equals 6 over X. Taking all suggestions. Multiply both sides by X. I'll do that in red. If you have another pen, sometimes that's helpful. Grace knows what she's doing there. Multiply by X. And of course, you on one side, do the other side. So now I have X times tangent of 63 equals X side by X. It cancels out. That's exactly what we wanted. Okay. All right, let's keep this equation train rolling here. What next? Divide by tangent of 63 on both sides? Why, certainly. This is, of course, more steps that you probably do. You would probably just try to do all that in one step, which that's fine as long as you can successfully do that. So x equals 6 divided by tangent of 62 degrees. And you'll get pretty good at this. You'll notice, you'll get to the point where you're like, you see this equation right here, and you'll do what my dad used to call the catch and throw, where he's like, catch this and throw that or whatever. You multiply both sides by x, you can mentally visualize the x going over here. Divide both sides by tangent 63, you can mentally see the tangent 63 swooping under here, catch and throw kind of thing. Anyway, I was in 4th grade. So.
Switch around.
Yes, I was doing trig in 4th grade. Was I really doing trig in 4th grade? I mean, I was kind of just following the process, okay? Did I understand everything? Like, no way. But if any of you have, little siblings, I would, brothers, sisters, or cousins, or whatever, I'd recommend every now and then just show them something a little more complex. Give them a little bit of a talk on something more, okay? You will find that exposure, just kind of being aware of it, it sort of lessens the intimidation factor as you grow up. And the more times you see something, the more comfortable you are with it, then you kind of own it a little bit more. When I finally started doing trig stuff in high school, I was like, oh yeah, I've been doing this since I was in grade school. Not really. I mean, I just written some of these words down here, and I typed in the numbers to the calculator. I felt special. I was kind of annoyed because I did that before I was able to go to the beach. But anyway, yeah, really traumatized. You can tell now I do it for a living. So, okay, let me tell you. All right, there you go. So x equals 6 over tangent 63. That's a great sort of summary answer, but that's not good enough for George Washington. He's got to figure out what that actual number is. Okay. To the calculators we go. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing, and I'm going to tell you if I tell you once a million times. You need to make sure that the mode that you are in, when you are using sine, cosine, and tangent, is degree mode. Okay? It'll bite you every single time. So you want to go and hit that mode button, and then go on over and hit deg, or degree, I guess. Okay, would you find it? Mode, and then go down to the 3rd or 4th one down, go to degree, and hit enter, and then you can hit second and quit button to get out of there. Sorry, did you get it? Diana, yes. Brianna, yes. Robert, yes. Everyone back there? Thumbs up. We got degree mode. Okay, let's key that in. 6 divided by tangent 63. Enter. All right, we only care about, so round to the nearest 10 to 3.1. Okay, so I probably should change that equals to school. Okay, 3.1. All right. Is that a reasonable number? Yeah, I don't know. Step number 4, check it. Check yourself. I don't know. Okay, so let's see here. We'll use the internal relationships of a triangle to check ourselves. That's 63, that's 90. What would this angle up here be? Or how could you find that angle? Robert, you've been kind of silent over there.
It is 27.
Why do you say it's 27?
Because 63 plus 27 equals 9, and then with a 90-degree angle on top, together equals 180, which is the degrees of a triangle.
All right, let me slow that brain train down here for a second here. We know that this, plus this, all those angles add up to equal 180, right? Okay? 90 of them are already taken care of right here. Right? So therefore, these other two combined must also equal 90. So I can, the short way of figuring out what this one is, I can do 90 minus 63, which is correct. That is 27 degrees. Okay? And property of triangles is that the largest side is across from the largest angle. Okay? The smallest side is across from the smallest angle, and the middlest side is across from the middlest angle. Yes, that is important. Okay? So we've got, we're just going to look relatively speaking here. 27 is smaller than 63, and this side over here, the 3.1, is smaller than the 6. Okay? So we've got at least some sort of rough validation that it works. Okay? And I can also tell you the 3.1 is good. All right. Identify the best trig ratio to use. Write down the trig equation. Manipulate that equation to solve for x, and then check yourself. Shall we do some problems together? Sure. Let's do that here. What's that? How do you know? Good question. All right, listen up, class. She said, how do I know the best one to use? Well, in this case, I was given information about the opposite and the adjacent. And so if I listed over there, which trig ratio deals with opposite and adjacent, we'll write them down right here just for fun, just as a reminder. So sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine of theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. And if tangent theta is opposite over adjacent, if you look at those, I've got an opposite and adjacent. Which one of those three has opposite and adjacent? And the answer is just tangent. This one would require the hypotenuse. This one would require the hypotenuse. See what I'm saying? So, and you might say, what about the other ones like secant, cosecant, cotangent? Okay, fine. Yes, you could. Those are possibilities, but those are just these same things but flipped. So why even bother with that? Just go with the original three. All right? Because the original trilogy is really the best, right? We all know that it is. It's true in so many situations. Okay? I'm sure you can think of one off the top of your head, Star Wars. So. All right, but that's a great question because that's what we're going to deal with this particular one right here. So it says solve for x, round your answer to the nearest 10. Here we go. Let us follow the steps. Identify the best trig ratio to use. Okay, so we're gonna. There we've got the opposite. The side across from the 90 is the hypotenuse. This one down here is blank. I'm not even gonna. I mean, if I wanted to, I'll write adjacent, but I'm not gonna confuse anything here. I'm just gonna leave it whatever. So, Nayeli, I need a trig ratio that's going to deal with the opposite and hypotenuse. You are correct. Sine. So I might write sine of theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. And then actually write my trig equation with the values that are given. So sine of 58 degrees equals, anybody want to fill that in for me? Not quite.
Never mind. I was doing the other
X,
side.
yep, okay. X, which is my opposite side, over 9. Now I shall manipulate the equation to solve for the unknown. That's the general term. In this particular case, that means multiply both sides by 9. Multiply by 9, multiply by 9. So I would have x equals 9 sine 58 degrees. And that's something I can just key in to the calculator. I'm hearing 7.6. That's rounded to the nearest 10. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
You can't validate yourself. I need 2 independent sources
Well,
to
what did he
verify.
say?
He said
Oh,
7.6.
yes, he's right, yes.
Okay, okay. It's been verified by our fact checkers in the back there. Thank you, ladies. Okay. All right, so we've got 7.6 for this. Hey, let's not forget, let's not just waste that 2.5 minutes that we just spent, okay, and get it wrong on Alex. Let's do at least a little bit of a check. Is this realistic? A 7.6 value right here on this particular triangle? Anybody want to answer that? Why do you say yes? Yeah, it's less than the hypotenuse, okay? That's a real quick way of seeing if you're on track. I like the thinking. Let's go. As a table, take care of number 2. If you're feeling special, you can take care of 3, 4, and 5 as well. Okay? Make sure you agree on that with your table partner, and if you do, call me over. If you have questions about how to set it up, you can ask myself or Mr. Greensword.
Oh, I was just gonna use it as a right?
No, see, because in this case, this will come tomorrow. You need the angle. You don't have like cotangent is just tangent flipped. You need something completely different.
Okay.
Because if you do cotangent, you're still taking just the cotangent is adjacent over opposite. See what I'm saying? You need inverse tangent where I give you the sides and then you tell me.
Oh.
We'll talk about this. You're
Alright.
Oh, the letter, the one inside of the letter. So, again,
you ladies finish. I'm looking at two. I'm looking for 2, 3, and 4. Are y'all in agreement? Don't do 5. Just 2, 3, and 4 actually. So,
this can't go out to scale.
you all in agreement on 2? Check to make sure. 2, 3, and 4.
You see me divide.
But then, the letter is like,
That was the last person.
Sure.
show that this means there's more. No, yes, oh, close it.
Yes.
Close.
So yeah, it's not based on like where you've been or anything like that, but where you are after that challenge check. Which I think is pretty much for most people it's gonna be higher than what most people. I mean like it'll be higher than what your first knowledge check was. Tell me when you guys have wait, yeah, are you agreement on 2? I'll check 2.
14.
9.2 is good.
Actually, 4 divided by 17.
9.2? And you have 3 and 4?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Check this.
What's you and her consult on?
Yeah, that's more like
I was
6.2.
Yeah.
on whether you divide it.
Well, let me go through steps.
Pretty sure you
I would recommend
Right,
that
just scale.
just go the extra steps there and write the equation down in full. Because I can't tell exactly what your thought is on this.
No, this is gonna be, which one you want to use? You know, obviously going to adjacent. So,
Don't worry about 5. 5 something strange. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Just 2 and 3. 2, 3, and 4 rather. Are you all in agreement?
Yes.
All right. So I guess we'll go backwards. What do y'all have for 4?
15.3.
46. Yep. And 2. Yep. Y'all have a little over 10 minutes. You can work on the homework if you want to, or something for another class. 15.3 and show me number 2.
homework, man.
There you go. I did it. What now? Yes, that would be a great time for that. Yep. That's good. Class, as soon as you finish 2, 3, and 4, you're free to work on these same problems on your homework. Your Alex topics, you've got a little over 10 minutes, or another academic activity of your choice. Today we talked about finding the sides. Tomorrow we'll talk about finding the angles.
Oh, yeah.
All right? And finish this up. Thanks for watching.
Yes.